A thread by Carlos Osuita. In his rabid hatred of Donald Trump, young fanatic Miles Taylor sabotages the Democrats' chances. Twice. Boy, oh boy, I sure hate to be in his shoes after Trump's landslide victory. His name will be Mud. From Breitbart, Miles Taylor admits he was anonymous behind New York Times Resistance op-ed. His first act of sabotage was writing the demented op-ed, and his second was admitting to it. Americans don't respond well to enemy agents working in the government to try and destroy the president, especially when they call themselves the resistance. Trump won, fair and square. Do you know why so many Democrats accuse Trump of being a Russian asset? Because they're all Chinese assets. The Chinese buy politicians and other government officials all over the world. If you accept that so many Democrats and the occasional Republican are owned by China, it explains their actions. The Chinese know nothing about American voters. They have no idea how we respond to open sedition. Most conservatives accepted Obama's 2 victories. The Democrats broke every law in the book to try and stop Trump. We all remember how many times we said to ourselves, Nancy Pelosi has lost it. Everything she's doing is backfiring. Judas goats and Chinese instructions made her totally ineffective. Watch the Gregory Peck movie, Pork Chop Hill. The Chinese loudspeaker propaganda is very accurate and totally laughable. Link in the thread, Pork Chop Hill theatrical movie trailer, 1959. Americans are famous for their sardonic gallows humor. During the Civil War, a Union general made his way to the front during a battle. The Confederates had just made a breakthrough and the Union troops were retreating. The general called to a young soldier, "You there, why are you running?" "Because I can't fly, you stupid bastard," the soldier responded. Bill Mauldin's cartoons were hugely popular with the fighting men of World War II. Here's the caption. "Call headquarters and tell them we're going to be late on account of a 3,000-mile detour." Totalitarians have no sense of humor, which is why the left can't meme. Riddle. How many feminists does it take to change a light bulb? That's not funny. So, this soft, pasty, young grub makes a huge miscalculation with his New York Times op-ed, and then he compounds it by identifying himself when this is happening. From ArgusLeader.com. Man arrested with knife, baton at Kristi Noem event in Maine, police say. Kristi Noem is the governor of South Dakota. Guy threatens Noem and Trump supporters with a baton and a large knife. Great timing, pal. And this is happening. Kitty Shackelford tweets, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Black Lives Matter kicking Jewish men out of the area while telling them you don't live here and synagogue of Satan. BLM is racist. Hashtag Philly. The sign says, don't buy from Jews. And just to make sure everyone got the message, the brown shirts physically assaulted Jewish people on the street. It's like today's anti-fascists are using fascist tactics or something. How could that be? Biden landslide a-coming our way. Head for the hills. James Woods tweets, this would be heartbreaking if he hadn't been such a corrupt person all his life. Video in the James Woods tweet of Joe Biden at his own rally being essentially a living corpse. I had a really interesting dream last night. I was in Japan, in a giant Victorian mansion that seemed to have been converted into a conference center. It was full of people. We got word that a tsunami was coming. I looked out the window and I saw a wave. It was thousands of feet high, so I figured that this was the end. As the wave rushed in, something told me to close the windows, which were all of the casement type. The tsunami came in and it broke behind our conference center, leaving us unscathed. We were high enough off the ground that the raised water level didn't make a difference. The radio said that the tsunamis would keep coming for 24 hours. Everyone in the room with me was insane. They kept opening the windows and hopping out onto the beach where they'd be swept away by the next tsunami. They all ignored my warnings. Tour buses started unloading Americans who also ignored me when I told them to come inside. I noticed that there were apartments and offices in front of us. Everybody ignored the coming tsunamis and got swept away. Low-flying aircraft got swept away. So I gave up and left them all to their fate. Nobody paid attention or listened to me, so they all died. I felt bad for them, but there was no excuse for their behavior. Even the people in the room had seen that if they just stayed put, they'd survive. But they kept going outside and dying. As more and more tsunamis came in, people started committing suicide to prove that there was no danger. A naked 400-pound woman jumped off the office building in front and blew up on a terrace. People said to me, "See? She's fine." She'd hit a steel fence. She was shredded. But everyone told me she was now going to get married to this soy boy with glasses. An old man started to climb in through the window. I went over to help him, and he shoved me away. "What do you know?" he roared at me. "You don't know anything." He jumped down on the beach and got swept away. My brother came in. I explained everything that was happening, and he nodded silently. But he stayed in the room. I can still see the whole dream. What gets me is the blindness, arrogance, and hostility. If I warned them, they got angry. But if I left them alone, they ignored the danger or did insane things to prove that none of it was happening. The tsunamis will start hitting after Trump is reelected. And that will be the time for you to really keep your head. People will be swept away, but it'll be their choice. If they stay in the room with us, they'll be fine. You'll have to consign a lot of people to their fate. So, paradoxically, you'll actually need to be stronger after Trump is reelected. Some people must be written off. You can feel bad for them, but you can't let them take you with them.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.